Hey, ladies, this is the Concealed Mistress again. And this is a relationship channel for women. And I guess it could be for men too. But I really want to empower ladies and try to give them as much game as possible when it comes to dealing with these men because, yeah, I notice that women are going through a lot with men. I'm in a Facebook group. It's a husband and wife who runs the group, and they're out of Australia. They have a blog and website that sells courses and books, and they give women advice on how to date and marry. And this group is actually an international group, right? Um, so I see posts from women all over the world, Eastern Europe, Africa, uh, countries in Asia, right? These are continents I'm naming, not countries, but they're from all over the world. And the one common theme that I see throughout these posts is that women are having a very difficult time in relationships with men. A lot of times they're getting mixed signals. They're not sure what's going on. What I noticed my, myself is that a lot of them don't have any game. And they start seeing a man and they take it a little bit too serious and they fall in love after 2 weeks. Just a plethora of problems that they create for themselves because they don't have any game. So I have a post here from one of the groups, and I'm going to read it to you. It's about red flags, right? Red flags is the new term everybody uses now. It's a hot term. It's like saying narcissist all the time, okay? So I'm going to read this post from a woman, from a lady. And it says, I have just realized that I view men between 35 to 40 who have never been married as a red flag. Do you see it as a red flag too? I think I read somewhere that when men reach a certain age, being single, they are most likely to remain single forever. Edit. When I say quote unquote, I read somewhere, I mean actual research that backs this up. So let's talk about it. Is it a red flag if a man has never been married between the ages of 35 and 40? I'm going to go on to ask between the ages of 35 or just 35 and up. Is it a red flag? Well, I guess you have to look at the man and the individual, what kind of personality he has. I think we can make generalities about things, and sometimes we do, but it depends on the individual. Like I have an ex that I dated off and on, and he went to college and finished college late, like after 35, and is still working on his second degree and is doing very well. So his career is taken off and he's focused on building and making money. So yeah, I mean that's something he should have probably done in his 20s, coulda, woulda, shoulda, doesn't matter. He's doing it now. So sometimes men hit their peak and start taking off with their careers after 35, 40 years old. They don't start doing really well if they're focused until about their 40s or 50s and even 60s. So that's sort of normal. So it just, like I said, it depends on the man. It could be that they've had some bad experiences with women and they don't want to get married. There's an unlimited supply of vag out here in the world. So it could be that, if that's all they need is just some sex, then they don't want to get married, right? Or if you have a rotation of girlfriends, right? I've been a part of a rotation of girlfriends and I didn't know I was for a long time. Some of them will have rotating girlfriends for a long time until they need a hospice wife. Now, that may be the situation that changes the name of the game as these men age, especially if they're not taking care of themselves. They may end up needing a hospice wife to take care of them. And a lot of times they'll try to trap these younger women into being a hospice wife. older women are sort of hip to that, especially if they have their stuff together. They don't want to take care of a man that's sick, right? There's one thing, as one lady on TikTok, she said, if we started in our 20s together and we get old and you get sick, that's different. I want to take care of you. But I'm not marrying you in my 40s and 50s and you get sick and I have to, it's just a mess. So no, say no to hospice, being a hospice wife, because that's the popular topic that's floating around social media. I also remember many years ago, about a decade or two, when I first moved to the Dallas Metroplex, and the Steve Harvey show on the radio used to come on. And before Steve Harvey started writing relationship books, his bodyguard, Big Boom, wrote a relationship book. And I remember I actually bought this book, right? And I remember reading in his book, and I'm paraphrasing here, he said, and this was a relationship book for women. He said that if a man's not married after 40, it may be possible he's, in the closet possibly. Now, that's a big, broad statement there. I mean, that's possibly not, but it could be, right? Sometimes you can't see the signs, and sometimes the signs are all there. So the thing that I took to heart with that, reading that, which was shocking to hear, that this was coming from a man. And the one thing about men is that they know men. So who better to break it down to a woman and tell a woman about these men, right? So that was very eye-opening for me. I never forgot that. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I meet a man that's never been married, never had kids, over 40, I sort of have an eyebrow raised up sometimes, like, what's really going on, right? I have met men. I like older men. I'm in my 40s myself. I've met men in their 50s and 60s, never been married. And you know what's funny? They want to get married. I'm like, you're 67 years old. Why do you want to get married at this point? You didn't spend your whole life not married. Why would you? And why are you telling me? Like, this is our first conversation on the phone, and you're telling me you want to get married? Ooh, that's suspect to me. I hightail and run, because that's an issue right there. When a man comes out in the very beginning stages and says he wants to get married, that could be a good thing. He may be sincere, or he probably needs something from your ass. Maybe he just found out he was sick. Maybe he's having financial trouble. Who knows? But sometimes that in itself can be a red flag. Ladies, if a man's talking to you about marriage, he's a much older man, and y'all just met and start having conversations, and that's when the first thing he says, I would just keep that in mind. I have this thing that I tell myself when I want to remember something. I'll stick it in my Rolodex and pull it up later. Now, some of you aren't old enough to remember what a Rolodex is, but it was a card filing system where you would put phone numbers, because we didn't have cell phones back then. But I digress, right? I do agree with this woman in this post that yes, it could be a red flag. It could be a red flag that he's not married. But I think the best thing to do is take the time, get to know the man, and just don't jump to any conclusions. Just let him talk. Have time with him, talk, get to know him, and just try to remember some things that may stand out. That's the only way you're going to know if there's an issue there. Let the man talk. Let him get comfortable talking with you, right? Because if he feels comfortable talking with you, certain things are going to come out, right? And you'll know if something's wrong with him. It could be anything. He could be an abuser. He could have some immaturity issues. I know we like to use the word narcissist a lot. Nowadays, he could be a horrible narcissist. He could be a horrible player, right? It could be any of those things. But the best advice I have for this, and she wasn't really looking for advice, she was just trying to see if ladies notice the same thing. Do you see it as a red flag too? Yes, I would see it as a red flag, but I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't announce it to them. I would just sit back and observe. Spend time with him, talk, get to know him, and just watch his behavior and sit back and observe. Because I promise you, over time, if you let things go slow and let it have its natural flow and let it unfold organically, people will reveal who the hell they are every time. Don't move fast. Don't jump in bed. Just take your time. Oh, and another thing that annoys me with us women is that when somebody shows us interest and pays attention to us, we get all excited. Stop getting excited. Stop getting excited. You're a woman. Of course, a man is supposed to be interested in you. Okay, that's normal. But because we go so long without having relationships sometimes, and we don't have any game, right? We don't understand what's happening with men. We just, think it's, oh my God, he likes me. Okay, yeah. Don't get excited. Okay. And I want to say something about game before I go. Women need game. I think I mentioned this earlier, but we need game. I remember telling somebody who had gone through some relationship troubles, and she just missed all of the possible red flags over the years. And she just found out her guy was just an absolute player. And she had no idea all this was going on, right? They didn't live together. They didn't live close to each other, but so it was devastating. And I said, sometimes, honey, you have to learn game. You have to learn the game. And she was like, I don't want to play any games. I don't want to do that, And I said, well, you may not want to do that, but at least if you know the game, you can have some awareness. You can spot a sucker coming, right? Yeah, you can spot a sucker coming. And it makes it easier when you recognize these things, when you recognize that somebody's toying with you, right? Because a lot of times people have a pattern. They absolutely have a pattern. So on this channel, I'm going to talk about ways that you can learn game and apply it to your life. But when I say game, we look at game as something negative. Everybody in the world is playing the game, and life is not fair. Okay. If life was fair, certain things would not happen to certain people. Certain events would not happen in this world if life was fair. So we're running around trying to be fair, moral, and have values, and that's great. While everybody else is running circles around us and running game on us, and we're not even aware. And women have to be aware of the games that men play so that you can, when you're dating, if you want to date and want to be married, you can get these men out of the way quickly and not have them linger because you've recognized they're playing a game and you just get rid of their asses. So this is the Concealed Mistress. Like, subscribe, leave comments. Let me know about your experiences. Do you see men between the ages of 35 to 40 or over 30 as a red flag if they haven't been married? Is that a red flag to you? Tell me what you think. Bye now.